Go ahead.
9/11 attacks were carried out by something other than the hijackers, and there's a whole alternative universe in which the attacks are occurred in a completely different way. Yeah, if we lived in a parallel universe, that would be a very different universe. There's, in our view, not a lot of evidence that that universe is actually connected to this one.
Could I ask a question? Do you mind? Yeah, I just wanted to know what the 9/11 Commission didn't deal with any of the hijackers except to name them, but never addressed the question that like up to 11 of them were alive after 9/11, reported by BBC, The Independent, LA Times, and stuff like that. Why didn't you interrogate all that issue of hijackers being alive after 9/11?
We actually looked into those allegations, and I think if you actually dig into the underlying data underneath the citations you've heard about, there's no there. The hijackers did not survive those plane crashes. And we know a lot about the hijackers. We've actually, there's quite a bit about them in the report. Not only did we have a lot of information about them from the people who were alive and captured,
wrong instrumental,
which we quote in the report,
and then I'll tell you when to
but
pay.
the Saudi government and others actually talked to their families. And believe me, none of their families have heard from them since 9/11. And none of their families think they're alive.
That's not true.
You take a picture.
You may have better information than we did, but I think our information is pretty good.
Well, anyway, you didn't report any of it. That's the bottom line. You didn't interrogate that issue. That's the key issue. You just took the list that was publicized, and basically the whole world is changing on the basis of your statement that 19 people did this operation. And if it's false, okay, that has major implications for how the world should be going forward. If you follow what I'm saying. I mean,
yeah, sure. If the 9/11 attacks were carried out by something other than the hijackers, and there's a whole alternative universe in which the attacks are occurred in a completely different way. Yeah, if we lived in a parallel universe, that would be a very different universe. There's, in our view, not a lot of evidence that that universe is actually connected to this one.
I'm just saying you should have interrogated that in the commission report, but you didn't at all.
No, there are actually about 2,000 allegations of this kind, which we saw a lot, and we didn't try to knock down every. We took on a few of the most important ones in the report, but there are so many incredible allegations of this kind that we did not. It would have taken us hundreds of pages in the report, which is already a pretty long report, to say, and here's why that's bogus, here's why that's bogus, here's why that's bogus, and we could have gone on like that for a long time. But we didn't do that because then what would have happened is you couldn't have sustained the narrative and the kind of report we wanted to provide. But we covered a lot of those bases, and there's a vast body of information underneath our report that's not in the report. We interviewed thousands of people and looked at millions of pages of documents, and a lot of the report is just the tip of the iceberg of the work that we did.
Right.
We responded to questions actually of that 9/11 families gave to us about a lot of different conspiracy theories, stock market manipulation, other allegations, but the theories regenerate and take new forms depending on whatever you say. Once you disprove one version of it, it just mutates into another version of it.
But you didn't prove your own version. The problem is you didn't prove your own version.
Sir, that's a good question. It's okay.
Mr. Zelikow,
That's okay.
why wasn't Building 7? Why wasn't Building 7 part of your report? Why didn't 6.5 seconds, apparent controlled demolition? Why didn't the commission mention even and investigate especially Building 7's 6.5 second, 47-story building?
Because there is an enormous engineering study that's by the National Institute for Standards and Technology that was actually done on the collapse of the World Trade Center and the engineering aspects of the attack. But we don't actually believe that there is the kind of controlled demolition scenario that you hypothesize.
Now, here we're going to show you a videotape of the collapse itself.
Describe that.
Now we go to videotape, the collapse of this building.
It's amazing.
Amazing, incredible, pick your word. For the third time today, it's reminiscent of those pictures we've all seen too much on television before, when a building was deliberately destroyed by well-placed dynamite to knock it down.
We don't find any persuasive affirmative evidence that that scenario actually is true.
I remember getting a call from the fire department commander telling me that they were not sure they were going to be able to contain the fire. I said, you know, we've had such terrible loss of life. Maybe the smartest thing to do is pull it. And they made that decision to pull, and then we watched the building collapse.
But we don't actually believe that there is the kind of controlled demolition scenario that you hypothesize.
It's gone, man.
We don't find any persuasive affirmative evidence that that scenario actually is true.
This is no small building. As you can see, at 47 stories, it would stand out in most American cities.
But 6.5 seconds it dropped in 6.5 seconds. How do you account for that when it wasn't hit by a plane?
I mean, if the 9/11 attacks were carried out by something other than the hijackers, and there's a whole alternative universe in which the attacks are occurred in a completely different way, yeah. If we lived in a parallel universe, that would be a very different universe. There's, in our view, not a lot of evidence that that universe is actually connected to this one.